Hey everyone, and welcome back to Too Ambitious. I'm your host, Trish Lindo. Happy Black History Month. I'm so happy that you all are here joining me today. I'm so happy to have our next guest with me today. If this is your first time you're joining the show, this is a live series that celebrates Black women and women of color entrepreneurs who are changing the world by creating innovative and extraordinarily interesting businesses that I think some of us can say, are one of the things that keeps this country running is all the small business owners. And a lot of them, as we know, happen to be Black women and women of color. These women are extraordinarily ambitious. And I'm super excited today to have Ije Nwabueze join me and on our show today. And I'm going to practice that one more time. But let me tell you something about Ije. She's extraordinarily talented. She's also one of the kindest people that I've ever met on the interwebs. And sometimes, when we meet people on the internet, you're just not sure, but she was amazing. And she is such a wonderful person. She's the CEO founder of NextLevel Strategies. And through her business, she helps companies grow with intentional strategies that create measurable results. She is extraordinary. Join me in welcoming the extraordinary Ije to Too Ambitious. Hi, Ije.
Hello. Hi, Trish.
Hello.
This is such an honor. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm super happy that you're here. I want everyone to light up those comments and chats for Ije, who is joining us today, and also let us know where you all are joining us from. Ije, you're on the East Coast, right?
That's right. Just outside of Washington, D.C.
Okay. All right. And I'm on the West Coast. So this is a little East Coast, West Coast connection. But I'm so happy to have you here. And I think this was meant to be because we're both wearing stripes today. And,
We didn't plan that, but great mind.
We did not plan it, but see, that just means that we are in sync.
Yes.
I just want to tell me a little bit about some of the work that you've done. You've climbed the corporate ladder, helping global brands to transform their businesses. When did you decide to become an entrepreneur? Because when you're working for these amazing companies and at the level that you're working at, you could easily stay, right? So why become an entrepreneur?
I mean, that's a great point. And I've been so fortunate, like you've said, I've seen a lot of great success in my corporate career. I've gotten to work in 3 global major markets and to work for some of the most incredible brands that you can imagine. Fortune 500 companies that are just out there doing incredible things and working for leaders I really respect. And I was just really lucky that I happened to find what my strengths are, my superpowers, and to build a personal brand on the back of that allowed me to be successful in that space. And I kind of kept progressing up through those ranks and just also felt like I wanted to do more. I felt that there was something more out there for me. And for me, entrepreneurship has always been the way to fully express your full self. It's something I'd been aware of even when I was a child. I remember being in elementary school and remembering someone in my class saying, I want to be an entrepreneur. That was the first time I ever heard the word. And I thought, what is that? So it kind of planted a seed in my subconscious that kind of stayed with me. And last year I decided to go for it, to bet on myself and really, go out there and tap into my power and leverage the fullness of my experience. So that's what I'm doing through NextLevel Strategies. And I'm really, really grateful to be in this part of my journey.
Yes, and I love that because it is a journey. You don't just sort of like happen to do this. There is a process to it, for sure. Now, you talk about NextLevel Strategies. Did you have an idea about NextLevel Strategies before you left corporate, or left corporate and then you're like, aha, the aha moment, as Oprah says?
Yeah, the aha moment. I know. I NextLevel Strategies has always been a part of me. I didn't know it was going to get what it was going to be called or what my brand, my logo would look like or my colors or anything like that. But I always knew that, I'm the ultimate problem solver. I love to tackle challenging problems that matter, right? Things that really move the dial, that help to transform the world. That's my personal mission. And, I made a career out of doing that. And I really knew I wanted to continue doing that. I knew that NextLevel would allow me to work more intentionally with, clients and businesses that I wanted to really partner with to create something that we could feel proud of and just work in a more unconstrained way. I also wanted to combine like my consulting background, that strategy execution background with coaching, because coaching has been so transformational for me as a human being, and as well as the work I do with my clients. So yeah, next level strategies for me is kind of born out of that. It was that intention to say, hey, I want to tap into the fullness of my experience. I want to leverage my superpowers and really work intentionally with business leaders that want to create a legacy they can feel proud of. And so that's what I'm doing with Next Level.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little about the work that you do with Next Level. Like, how does it work?
So Next Level is really a nice blend of consulting and coaching. On the one hand, I do strategy execution consulting, which is really like birthed out of what I experienced in corporate, working for all those big brands. I worked for Capital One, for Tegna, for Discovery Education, number of brands. And what I always found was, these organizations would have incredible products, amazing customer base, the most brilliant minds you can ever find in-house, forming their team, running their engine, but they'd often have this disconnect between what they think of as priorities and where they're actually investing their resources, right? Their time, their energy, their funds, right? And it took a while for me to realize this just kept happening. And that's when I saw, wait, there's a gap here. There's some kind of disconnect. And so the first thing I do through Next Level Strategies is really plugging that gap. So this is an extension of the work I was already doing in corporate, which is really finding that balance between big picture strategic thinking that's innovative, that drives things forward, right? And kind of like aligning that with detailed, super efficient end-to-end planning and implementation. All right.
Okay.
So my expertise is being able to zoom out to see the big picture and
Okay.
ideate and imagine, and then zoom in, get super laser focused and drill down to the tiniest detail. And I can do that back and forth endlessly. Like it's effortless for me. Right. So once I realized that, I said, this is something that's missing. There's a demand here. I can solve that with Next Level Strategies. And it's really been a game changer to narrow the focus in that way. I'll give you an example of a client that I worked with. They brought me in, this is a business that was super mature, had a great product. But as they were forecasting and looking forward, they realized that they were starting to see some changes in consumer behavior that would make their core service less profitable in about 20, 25 years time, right? They were starting to see a decline in growth rates. So they could continue doing what they're doing, right? Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or they could start to make small tweaks to reimagine what their business portfolio could look like and start making steps to build that today.
Right.
They decided to try the second handle. They brought me in, right? Because the core thing is you don't want to disrupt what you're already doing because you're trying to put something in place for the future. So I got brought in and I sat with the executive team and they talked me through their priorities. And I thought, amazing, they've got clarity, they've got buy-in and consensus. This is going to be easy. It's going to be great. And then I actually went to do my own diagnosis and look at where they were spending their resources, right? Their time, their energy, and funds. And I was shocked to see there was such a huge misalignment, right? And for a lot of really interesting and relevant reasons, but mainly life happens. You set a goal and then things happen, emergencies pop up, and next thing you know, you have stuff in flight and you're still committed to and spending energy and time and money on that no longer align with where you want to go. So that was a big part of how I support that executive team and the larger business from a strategy execution perspective. The second thing I do is supporting high-performing leaders and their teams, because your people are actually your greatest resource. And it's really interesting. We do a great job of finding the best out there. We don't do such a great job about kind of helping them create environments where they can really thrive in this construct of the team, right? There's something like 80% of our teams out there that are underperforming. That's a lot of failure if you really think about it. And with everyone trying their best, it's a number you can't really ignore. So a big part of my work is really supporting leaders in building out high-performing, resilient teams, right? So that the business can create a culture and a machine of continuous improvement. And that can be the game changer when you're really trying to scale and grow that business and take it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that what's interesting too is that you're working with, a C-level executive. And we all know a lot of these people obviously are high performers. Some may have big egos. How do you sort of navigate that? Because you're working with people who are used to people telling them yes all the time. They don't have to deal with people who give them pushback. So how do you navigate that, EJ?
That is a great question. And in fact, it's been one of the greatest like personal transformations for me was really coming into my own to still honor myself in the way that I work, right? Which is
Right.
primarily on three core pillars. First and foremost, I'm super candid, right? I mean, that's how I
Right.
build trust. It's how I learn to trust, right? So when I come into an environment, I level with you. I'm honest, I'm transparent, I'm candid. You might not like what I have to say, you might not agree with it, but you can be sure that's actually what I believe, right? And 9 times out of 10, I have data to prove it. So, I keep it kind of straightforward in that respect. It was part of my personal brand when I was in corporate. It's a core value that I live by. It's how I choose who I work with. I tend to gravitate towards clients who also share those values and want to create those environments within their spaces as well. The second thing is I work primarily from the perspective shift angle, right? So these are subject matter experts. They know their businesses like the back of their hand. They know the spaces that they compete in, right? Much more than I could ever, even when I'm working with folks who are in spaces that I've been in, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really looking to help them experience a shift in perspective. And I'll give you a great example of that. You know, Oftentimes, particularly at those ranks when you're running a business that's fast growing like that, you're over indexing on the question how. How
Yeah.
do we get there? Right? That's the question that you obsess over. You wake up in the middle of the night. How do we get there?
Yeah.
And so one shift that I work with my clients on is going from how to who, right? Who
Okay.
who do you want to become or who do you need to become to get there? Right?
Okay.
Who do you need to become to get there? And that's such a slight shift, but can be really monumental because then you start realizing, oh my goodness, wow, okay, so it's not just about processes and tech and skill building.
Right.
It's much more than that. It's mindset shifting, right? It's
Absolutely.
it's reimagining and reengineering your behaviors, right? It's learning higher order skills, like adaptability and resilience.
Yeah.
These skills that will enable you to continue to learn other skills and to problem solve in an empowered way for the long run, because this is a long game, right? So that's part of the work I do is that mindset shift with right from the top all the way through the organization of saying, what are the questions we over index on? How can we shift our perspective to open up new opportunities and find a different way? And then
Yeah.
the third thing is really around prioritization. As I mentioned at the start, it's like there's this disconnect oftentimes because life happens and
Yeah.
the business environment is ever changing. It's figuring out how do we create an objective and structured way of assessing all the options on the table, right? So that we can improve decision quality and influence communications. So we
Mhm.
can get the buy-in and the momentum that we need to get across the finish line on key priorities. So those are really the three primary ways that I support my clients. And also I'd say a fourth one is actually just acknowledging that they're a full person. I don't create that distinction between personal and professional.
Right.
I'm saying, hey, it all kind of gets interwoven at certain points. How do you want to show up in all of the critical spaces in your life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love that approach too, is looking at the whole person, because none of us are a monolith, even if we're super, super successful people, we all have lives that are going on as we are, building our businesses and being great. So I love that approach that you take. It sounds like you have a bit of EQ into that too. Is that you're really sort of working with the individual on their EQ and that self awareness, and really trying to not only understand themselves as a person, but how they sort of show up. In the workspace and for their team. Is that a right assessment, would you say?
100% emotional intelligence, social intelligence, systems intelligence, which is really understanding, okay, I'm actually part of an ecosystem here. I'm part of a living, breathing organism, and everything has a knock-on effect, right? Nothing works in silos. So yeah, that's some of the mindset shifting that I work with my clients on, and so that they can also kind of model that for the rest of their business.
Yeah, Absolutely. And I know also too, you're a Lean Six Sigma certified strategy execution expert. Now, I'm not going to say that six times, but uh, but first, tell me a little bit about what that means, EJ, and how it impacts your business.
You know what? It's funny because hearing you say it, it is a mouthful. That's a tongue twister for sure. You know, I'll go into the full explanation, but the short answer is it just means I get shit done. You know,
I love it. I love it.
I,
Yes.
I'm an expert at getting things done,
I love it.
and I hyper focus on results. Really, that's what it
Okay.
means. Lean
Okay.
Six Sigma is this, this incredible body of work, this approach that really focuses on continuous improvement, right? And looking at an ecosystem, not solving silos, but really looking A to Z at the entire value chain and understanding how all the different parts interconnect, right?
Yeah.
And then using that to kind of make that entire ecosystem better.
Right.
It's a way of problem solving that I it was really a game changer for me in building my brand and driving the way that I contribute as I was building out my career, how I
Mhm.
problem solve. And it's something that I definitely hold dearly, but it just means I get things done and I'm very
Yeah.
results oriented.
I love it. I love it, you know? I think more of us probably need that very same skill, how to get shit done, you know? One of the things that I think is not only extraordinary about you as well is that you are a mom of two small children.
Yeah.
How do you sort of manage that and manage your growing business, super successful business at the level that you are able to scale this business at this time? How are you navigating that?
Ooh, this is probably going to be one of those questions that I'll have to come back to time and time again because at every stage in my journey, the answer is going to be different. At this early stage, it was very much about kind of acknowledging that yes, I've got two little ones, and my family is so important to me.
Yeah,
My role as a mother is really important to me, to my sense of identity and my sense of purpose. Acknowledging that I want to run as fast as I can, right? Because I believe in what I'm doing, but
right,
I will never regret not being further because I put my family first.
right.
That's just my own personal journey. That's my
Yeah,
own what gives me fulfillment. So
right.
I strive as much as I can. I go for it. I take risks. I bet on myself. I give it my all, but I also try and really be intentional about, okay, what am I also doing to fill my cup on this end because it matters so much to me.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that's what I found. And of course, you know what? They're constantly growing. And folks who have older kids tell me, enjoy this time because later, you're not going to have it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm barely awake at this point in time. What do you mean? I want as much free time as possible. And they're just like, yeah, you'll get it. You'll get it later. So yeah,
yeah,
that's just the thing. I really try and just, be intentional about how I use my time. And because I'm doing fulfilling work, it doesn't seem like a trade-off to me, to be honest. This is
right.
what serves me is being of
Yeah,
service to others using my natural gifts. So I'm in a really beautiful place in my life right now. And I couldn't be more grateful.
I love that. And family first, I always say. So, kudos to you for that, for prioritizing, your family, and making sure that they're well, all the time. When we talk a little bit about, entrepreneurship and this business that you are building, are you doing this by yourself? Are you a solopreneur or do you have, a team? How many people work on your team?
Well, right now, I'll say I wear multiple hats. I've got thought partners who are engaged in kind of helping me, like think about positioning and think about, my service delivery. I've got a great mentor who's ahead of me, multiple steps ahead of me that I can always go to brainstorm or just to have a pity party if something doesn't go well for like 2 minutes, and then you got to move on.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, but this is, and that's the one thing about being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, particularly this type of business that I'm building, which is very much like it's my intellectual property, right? It's my, it's what I have built over the years, and my deep experience and my training. It's very much an extension of me. It's my outpouring, and so it does feel like there's a lot more on me. But
Yeah.
I do have resources. I've got some some different resources that I can tap into on a project by project basis so that I can scale in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that entrepreneurship sometimes is a solo journey, or can feel like a solo journey. So it's so great that you have those people that you can tap and ask for help when you need it. Because that is key during this process. And when we talk a little bit about scaling your business, how have you navigated the world of funding and grants and that sort of thing as a small business owner? Have you decided to do that, or is your business scaling fast enough that you don't need those resources, venture capital or anything like that?
Truthfully, this is a really good question because it's something I've been looking into more and more. Up until this time, at this point in time, I've been building this business based on just my own capital, right? So I haven't actually gone out to get any kind of angel invest in, or or look at any grants or anything like that. And I think it's also because I really wanted to test the market, right? I wanted to have a proven asset, and I wanted to really kind of understand by doing. And I think I am getting to the point now where, as I start to get, more business, I probably do need to expand my team in a more permanent way. And then I'll really probably need to go and look for capital. But yeah, it's just to say it's not something that I've looked into so far, but it's something I'm now kind of being more cognizant of and want to start exploring more as I kind of get closer to that stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need different resources at different levels of your business, right?
Yes.
So, I totally get that. So, for a C-suite executive or executive who might be watching the show, who are like, "Hey, I would love to work with EJ," what's your process for clients? Like, what's your criteria? What do they need to be ready for as soon as they message you like, "Hey, I want to work with you"? You're like, first.
Well, it's interesting that you say this. This is a really good question. I mean, so my process is really just it's relationship first, right? So it's getting contact, right? And you can do that by sending me a direct message on LinkedIn. You can also go to my website and book directly, a no obligation discovery call with me, so we can start to discuss. And there's a link to my website on my LinkedIn profile. So it's really first that sort of initial conversation just to get a feel for what it is that's top of mind for you, why that matters, and how I could support you in kind of achieving those goals. And then we co-create. So, particularly at this stage in my business, I don't have an off the shelf something that everything is just specifically tailored to meet your needs. So it's hyper personalization, right?
Yeah.
I kind of meet you where you are, and then together we figure out what's the best way forward, and we co-create that. So that's really the way that I'm working right now. Um, and yeah, and I would say in terms of criteria, this is an interesting one. I mean, I would say primarily I've been working with businesses that have that clarity around they want to scale, 2, 3x
Yeah.
within the next few years, right? So
Right.
they have that clear goal in their minds of it's time for us to hyper grow,
Yeah.
and we want to understand what that would entail and create a strategic plan for making that happen.
Right.
And I don't. Interestingly enough, I don't have a sector specific focus,
Okay.
but I have worked primarily in sort of finance, tech related, as well as media broadcasts. But I find that the work that I do is transferable, and I'm able to work with a wide array of industries.
Yeah.
Right? So right now, that's kind of where I am. It's just if you're a visionary business leader, you have some clarity around where you want to go and why that matters, and you want to enroll a strategic advisor that you can trust and that can be a thought partner in you and actually help with that transformation process end to end, I'm your person.
I love it. I love it. There you have it. So if you are watching, I've got EJ's information up on the screen. Definitely reach out to her. She will change your business and maybe even your life. Just that I'm throwing out there. No pressure, EJ. No pressure. What's your one piece of advice for someone who might be considering entrepreneurship at this point? Because obviously, as we know, the journey is different for everybody. But what's one piece of advice that you would give if someone's like, I'm going to go ahead and pursue that, you know?
That's a really, really important question. I mean, there's so many things that come to mind. I would say for me, it's going to be around recognizing that it is a journey. It really, I mean, I know people over index on that, but truthfully, it's a journey, and it's happening within you as well as within the context of what you're trying to build and bring to life. So prepare yourself for that, your own personal transformation, right? Which then allows you to then tap into that power to drive the transformation you want to see all around you. So it's all good, but it's kind of acknowledging that and being prepared for that so that when you start to experience yourself evolving and growing, you don't feel like, oh my God, the world is falling apart. What's happening? But rather you can actually look at that and say, huh, okay, I feel uncomfortable. There's an intense amount of discomfort right now. Remind yourself of your sense of purpose, why you're doing it, and then recommit and go at it again tomorrow. So that's what I would say to anyone who wants to step out on their own. And I will say it's a life skill. You really can't go wrong learning the skills that we learn in terms of standing up something you believe in. It will make you successful in every aspect of your life. And actually, when I start recruiting for more permanent team members, I'll be looking for that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And the journey never ends when you're in entrepreneurship. It's like this, it's like a roller coaster, just constantly on quite a ride. What about, when you're transitioning from corporate to, starting your own thing? There's so many people right now who have experienced layoffs and everything like that, and might be looking to say, maybe now is the time. How do you decide, and I know it's different for everybody, but what would you suggest, because you do talk to C-level executives, to someone who is either still in corporate and considering it, or someone who just left a corporation and is like, I'm considering it, what do you think?
I would say for me, something that I've found especially helpful is kind of, detaching yourself as much as you can from the outcome. Because
Mhm.
really, I mean, this is, again, this is just sometimes it seems serendipitous. Like we said, we met each other and we were like, oh my goodness. But
Yeah.
it's that like series of unanticipated events that sometimes
Mhm.
don't align with the efforts that you're making. So
Yeah.
recognizing that effort does not equal result on the entrepreneurial journey is one
Okay.
of the biggest kind of aha moments that I had, so that I could start to reframe that for myself and look more openly around to figure out how I'm making progress and whether I'm making progress. So I would say if you can find some space between, your sense of, purpose and your why and the outcomes of your efforts, it will give you that room that you need to actually give it a go and make an
Mm.
honest try of
Yeah.
it. Right. And guess what? You might surprise yourself. You might inspire a bunch of other people along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also know that you have this really great thing that you do every day where you choose 3 words. So, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because
Yes.
I'm going to start doing that.
Well, it's this whole thing of like, someone would say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And when I was kind of um, back in the day, before I went through all the transformation I've been experiencing, I would just it would just roll off my tongue. I'm great,
Mm,
awesome.
mm,
Like, how are you? I wouldn't even think about the actual answer. And then as I started doing my coach training and also then subsequently then started this entrepreneurial journey, I had a lot of time to sit down and think and be with myself. And so I started realizing, how do I actually feel? And when folks would ask me, I would say, how much time do you have? Because I would then do this whole thing. So I had to find a compromise between the two, because not everyone has 2 hours to give you to answer one question. And that's really around what are 3 adjectives. And I actually got this from a good friend of mine who we tried it out with each other, and it was a success. It's like, what are 3 adjectives that describe where you are right now or how you're feeling in this moment? So you're not trying to like summarize all of this journey into one conversation. Neither are you given just a casual answer, but you're actually reflecting for a few seconds, and then you're sharing 3 words, and it just allows you to respond in a more authentic way that's true to you.
Yeah.
So I love it. I'm glad you're going to start doing it.
I'm totally going to start doing it. What's your 3 words for today then?
Joyful.
Okay. All right.
Empowered. Full of hope.
Ooh, I love that. You're in a really good space, Ije.
I'm in a really good.
You're in a really good space. You're having the best day ever, you know?
Yes, definitely. And this conversation has a lot to do with it. You've created such an incredibly inviting space, Trish. Well done.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Ije. I appreciate this conversation and meeting you. You are extraordinarily ambitious, and I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Ambition is something that sometimes people may think might not be a good thing, but I say the more the better.
Absolutely. There's not even a concept of too ambitious. I told you that. I said, there's not such a thing. No, the more the better, especially if you channel it to causes that uplift you. So yeah, the more the better.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show and being here with us. Is there anything else that you want to share, or where people can find you or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think LinkedIn is a great place. It's my platform of choice. So you can pretty much find me there. I share a lot of my strategies and some of my toolkit on that platform on a regular basis. So follow me, send me a DM so I know that we're connected. And then, of course, my website. And I would love to get on a call and just get to know each other better. So please reach out.
I love it. Well, thank you again, Ije. I adore you, and I hope we will continue to stay in touch. I will try not to stalk you, though. I won't let it get weird.
Stalking is allowed when it's coming from the right place.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you so much, Ije. And Nwabueze.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I did that
Yes.
microphone thing just for you. I don't know if you saw it.
Hey, I did, and I practiced. Totally practice. Well, thank you so much once again. You enjoy the rest of your day. Take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. And I will see you soon, Ije. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.